Hello and welcome. We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next hour. Tensions remain high in West Asia. Iran downplays Israel's retaliatory attacks. West calls for restraint. Spanish President Pedro Sanchez arrives in India today to hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Japan votes in a tight election. New Prime Minister Ishiba's majority at stake. Ruling Dream Party claims victory in Georgia general elections. Opposition alleges voter manipulation. And in sports, India women look to clinch series against New Zealand as they lock horns in second ODI in Gujarat. Iran has downplayed Israel's retaliatory strikes, saying that they caused little damage as US calls for de-escalation amid fears of an all-out multi-front conflict in West Asia. The Israeli military said that its jets carried out 3 waves of strikes before on missile factories and other sites near Tehran and in western Iran on Saturday. However, the country's nuclear sites were not targeted in the strike, which were in retaliation for Iran's October 1st attack on Israel. And world leaders, including US, have been calling for calm in West Asia. Among them is President Joe Biden, who said that Israel informed US about the strikes on Iran in advance. He also hoped that tensions wouldn't escalate further.
It's like I had a long reason. We're a little late. I was on with the intelligence community for the last half hour, 3.5 hours. It looks like they didn't hit anything other than military targets. My hope is this is the end.
And calling for de-escalation in West Asia, US Vice President Kamala Harris has said that the country was working towards ending the conflict in the region.
We maintain the importance of supporting Israel's right to defend itself. And we are also very adamant that we must see de-escalation in the region going forward, and that will be our focus.
And the escalation adds to the already volatile situation in West Asia. DD India's Mihir Mekhuri has more.
The early hours of Saturday saw waves of Israeli fighter jets streaking through the skies above Iran. The military strikes aimed at missile factories and other strategic sites come amid heightened regional tensions. Israeli military reported completing 3 waves of strikes before dawn, warning Iran not to retaliate.
We conducted targeted and precise strikes on military targets in Iran, thwarting immediate threats to the state of Israel. The Israel Defense Forces has fulfilled its mission. If the regime in Iran were to make the mistake of beginning a new round of escalation, we will be obligated to respond.
In Iran, the immediate aftermath of the attack left 2 soldiers dead. The country claimed its air defenses successfully countered Israeli strikes on military targets in the provinces of Tehran, Khuzestan and Elam, causing limited damage to some locations. The latest escalation stems from a year-long Israel-Hamas conflict that has sharply heightened regional hostilities. More recently, on October 1st, Iran launched 200 ballistic missiles at Israel, resulting in 1 casualty in the West Bank. Adding to the complexity, the ongoing conflict in Lebanon between Israel and Hezbollah has raised temperatures further. Israel has intensified its campaign against Hezbollah by targeting the outfit's infrastructure. Now all eyes are fixed on how Iran responds to Israel in the coming days. Mihir Mekhuri's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, India has expressed deep concern over evolving escalation in West Asia and has called for exercising restraint. In a statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs said, and I quote, We are deeply concerned by the evolving escalation in West Asia and its ramifications for peace and stability in the region and beyond. We reiterate our call to all concerned to exercise restraint and return to the path of dialogue and diplomacy. The ongoing hostilities are to nobody's benefit, even as innocent hostages and civilian populations continue to suffer. Our mission in the region are in contact with the Indian community. All right, let's go across to DD India's Amit Mukherjee. He has more information on this. Amit, first of all, tensions remain high in West Asia. First of all, tell us about the extent of the damage, aftermath and scale of destruction.
Absolutely, Abhishek, you're right. Tensions are still high, but as of now, there seems to be some kind of a pause as far as Israel's operation in Iran is concerned. And Iran has also not retaliated as far as the Israeli airstrikes are concerned. Of course, they have admitted to have lost 4 soldiers, and the damage they have also said has been sort of quite restricted. You know, the damage has not been quite widespread. Having said that, I must also tell you that, at this point in time, Iran has got really 2 choices. One is not to respond to the Israeli strikes of Saturday and Friday and remain calm and not escalate the situation further. But at the same time, since it's a war of perception also, apart from what is being fought on the battlegrounds, the perception would be, if a lot of people might translate into that Iran is falling weak. But again, it's up to the Iranian administration to weigh the situation as of now, because at this point in time, Iran, which already had said that it's not interested in war at this point in time, and it would also not retaliate in a big way if the attacks are only symbolic, might go in for a stance which is in the larger interest of Iran and its people. So as of now, there is a pause as far as Iran and Israel is concerned, the confrontation between them. But Israel continues to mount its attack against Hezbollah. And, in northern Gaza, it's also bombarded about 6 buildings, apparently in its operation against the Hamas operatives. And in certain pockets of Beirut, the southern suburbs of Beirut, it continues its operation against Hezbollah, primarily targeting not only their operatives and their assets, but also they are looking at dismantling the financial backbone which has been funding Hezbollah operations for a long time. Specifically, the Al-Qurt and Al-Hassan network, the financial institution which has about 30 branches in Lebanon, in Beirut, in the Beirut city of Lebanon. That is what Israel has also been targeting of late.
Okay, but Amit, talking about the reactions, world has reacted to Israel strikes on Iran, urging Iran to restrain, but Iran, they vow retaliation. Iran reaffirmed its right and duty to defend itself, quote unquote.
Well, interestingly, Abhishek, at this point in time, everybody is citing UN charters to look at their rights to kind of respond in case of any attacks on them. But if you look at the situation, it was the Israel attack came as a retaliation to what had happened on 1st of October. It was basically the 200 barrage of 200 missiles that were fired into Israeli territory, and Israel at every point in time made it very, very clear. The attack came almost 3 weeks after the incident had happened on October 1st. And Israel was categorically maintaining that the attack is only in retaliation to what had happened on 1st October. And even if you look at the choice of assets, which was destroyed by Israel yesterday, they were basically missile facilities, the drone facilities, and also the launch pads, which were actually utilized for the operation of on 1st of October. So basically, the target and precise attack of Israel was at all those assets which were actually instrumental in kind of launching the 1st October attack against Iran, against Israel. So that remains. And, after Israel was very quick to respond after carrying out this series of 3 strikes, it said that it is now over, and then warned the Iranian administration that in case of a further retaliation, things would not be look good in as far as West Asia is concerned. Abhishek?
But again, Amit, if Iran carries out retaliatory strikes, Israel will be obligated to respond. Daniel Haggerty said this. But the question is again, where does it stop? Where does the conflict stop? You think US will have a key role here?
Well, US has always had a key role. Now it's up to Iran to make a choice on this because, Iran has always been a passive, sort of a player in this whole game. It was actually the whole thing started following the assault by Hamas on the Israeli territory when on 7th of October, Hamas squads had actually entered Israeli territories, conducted mass killings, and abducted its citizens and took them away to Gaza. In fact, according to reports, more than 1,000 hostages are still in captivity of Hamas in several pockets of Gaza right now. So, it is now up to Iran whether it wants to respond right now, because in any case, Israel is continuing with its assaults, saying that it's punishing the perpetrators of the October 7th event, which also includes Hezbollah, because Hezbollah was giving us support. It was firing on the northern territory of Israel ever since the Hamas and Israel conflict had broken out. Abhishek?
Don't know if Iran's going to sit back. All right, Amit, we'll leave it there for time being, but yes, we'll keep taking updates from you. Moving further, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that North Korean soldiers may be on the battlefield against Ukraine any day now as Russia launched a drone strike on Kiev. According to Ukrainian officials, at least 7 people were killed in 2 separate Russian strikes. Ukraine has been pushing for more air defenses from its allies. Russia ramps up strikes on energy infrastructure.
Moscow is determined to continue aggression. They don't want anything else there, and that is why they are trying to increase their defense production by circumventing sanctions, and that is why they are increasingly taking North Korea as an ally, and their soldiers may be on the battlefield against Ukraine any day now.
And Russian Defense Ministry said early on Sunday that the country's air defense units has destroyed at least 30 Ukrainian drones overnight. The ministry added that the drones were destroyed over Russia's southern regions of Voronezh, Bryansk, Oryol, Lipetsk and Belgorod. In the drone attack, 1 woman was reportedly injured and few cars were also damaged. Shifting focus, finance ministers of the G7 nations vowed on Saturday to step up efforts to prevent Russia from evading sanctions imposed after the 2022 attack on Ukraine. Following a meeting in Washington, D.C., the group released a statement saying it remains committed to taking further initiatives in response to oil price cap violations. The G7 finance ministers also said they would take additional measures aimed at increasing the cost to Russia of using the shadow fleet to evade sanctions. And in December 2022, the G7, together with the European Union and Australia, agreed to pressure purchasers of Russian oil to not go above a certain price ceiling. The agreement was intended to limit Russian petroleum sales and revenues without curbing exports so sharply that it would cause global oil prices to soar. All right, we are slipping into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. China continues military activity near Taiwan. 8 aircraft, 7 vessels detected. In the Haitian capital, a gang attack has forced residents to flee their homes. And bus crashes on a highway in Mexico. 19 people lose lives, 6 injured.
Recycle, repair, renew. Are these cool trending terms or age-old traditions?
We started distributing the compost. The residents were really happy. It also made them understand the need for waste management, why segregation was important, because it was happening right in front of their houses.
Over the past years, we also expanded into the area of repair, and that obviously has an additional impact on saving e-waste, and that's an additional area where we see quite some potential.
The panels contain a lot of rare commodities, and you can save a lot of energy if you use recycled materials. It's also extremely important to keep those recycled materials here in Germany.
Biotanks, the sewage water gets recycled. It can be used for different purposes or drained into the ground.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. In Georgia, the ruling Dream Party has claimed victory in the general elections. Early official results with 70% of precincts counted, representing the majority of votes cast, showed the ruling party had won 53% of the votes. This win is significant in the political landscape of the South Caucasus nation of 3.7 million and was considered one of the most significant as well as one of the most divisive. Leaders of the ruling Georgian Dream Party, including reclusive billionaire founder and one-time Prime Minister Bidzina Ivanishvili and Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze, claimed victory and praised the Georgian people. If victory for Ivanishvili's party is confirmed, it would be a blow to the EU's hopes of bringing more former Soviet republics into its orbit. Moldova on October 20th voted by a very slim majority to support EU accession. And Georgia's opposition parties contested the election results at a news briefing held in the early hours of Sunday and said they would not accept them. Talking to media, leader of the Coalition for Change opposition party Nika Gravamia termed the results a constitutional coup. Now in Uruguay, all the preparations are done for the first round of general election to be held on Sunday. Ballot stations in the South American nation will open on Sunday at 7:30 a.m. local time, which is 10:30 GMT, with results expected after 9:30 p.m. locally. Uruguayans will vote for the next president, vice president and members of parliament, with polls showing a likely runoff needed. If no presidential candidate receives over 50% of the vote on Sunday, a second round will be held on November 24th. Now in Japan, voting is underway for parliamentary elections that will determine the next prime minister. The vote is regarded as an early referendum on the newly established administration of Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, who called snap polls after assuming his post on October 1st. The election also marks the first nationwide vote since a wide-ranging slush fund scandal rocked the LDP, dominating the political debate over the past year. PM Ishiba's conservative LDP, in government for almost all of the post-war era, has had a majority in the lower house of parliament since 2012, ruling in coalition with Komieto, on which it depends to control the less powerful upper house. Opinion polls suggest the conservative LDP and his junior coalition partner risk falling short of a majority, a result that could deal a knockout blow to Ishiba. All right, let's go across to my colleague Anil Thomas. He has more information on this and he's tracking the story. Anil, people across Japan voting today, but opinion polls suggest that the ruling coalition might fall short of a majority. How do you see the contest?
Well, good morning, Abhishek. Well, it seems very much likely if you look at purely the pre-poll surveys that have come into play. There is a sharp drop in the Prime Minister's rating from 42% to 41%. But purely looking at how the history of Japan has been, the post-war scenario that it is, it's very unlikely that post-2009, it's almost been a 15-year lull that, the present government has managed to hold post. There has been a change in guard, a lot of things being tried. But, the chronic problem of inflation that's affected Japan and the scandals that have rocked this particular government surely puts it on a back foot. And the last time that we've seen it in 2009, but this time around, the numbers don't, there could be a sharp drop in the number of seats that they could lose. And, at this point of time, the present day government has one coalition partner. So there is a likelihood they might lose the numbers, but they would, somewhere look at, making the arithmetic work of getting 233 seats and, look at somehow forming a coalition government. The opposition in 2009, when it managed to push this particular government into the opposition, don't have that kind of strength, but surely it's going to be a close fight to watch out for.
But again, Anil, if the coalition loses its majority, the LDP would need the backing of at least one more party. Tell us about what could likely be the scenario then.
Well, at this point of time, the way things stand, the one coalition partner that the LDP has, does not give them the strength, or purely looking at the pre-poll numbers that have come in, both are likely to lose. One is likely to lose close to 50 seats. The other is likely to lose close to 7 to 10 seats. So that leaves almost, if you take the fewer numbers putting those together, you need close to 50 seats to fill up that vacuum that's going to be created to cross the majority line. In that situation, there are almost 3 coalition partners or 3 small political parties that have close to 7, 20 and 23 seats. And, it could be getting more partners on board. If more partners come on board, the headache increases on getting the house in order. That's exactly what, when there was a change in guard, a lot of things being tried to get the house clean, and that's not happened. And the rising cost of living in Japan, and the Bank of Japan trying to tame inflation for a very long time. And, there was a sudden, if you look at the markets, the way the markets have reacted in Japan, there was a sudden inflow of, money entering into the Japanese market along with the Chinese market. And that was seen as a good sign to help the revival of the economy in Japan. With this particular election in place, and if it leaves, all the political parties in a catch-22 situation, it could not go well for the people at large. And that's the bigger cause of concern when one looks at. But surely in terms of political options that the present day order has, 2 or 3 political parties getting more into the kitty could be a headache of then managing the house, because you've got to clean somewhere around. The people in Japan are feeling very unhappy that, this snap poll that has been called almost 1 year in advance, looking to capture that mood and sentiment of the cleanup that the present Prime Minister has done, is somewhere, not gone down well with the people. And I think that's a catch-22 situation. Whenever you order a snap election, it could either go your way or against. At this point of time, unlike what we've seen in 2009, when the opposition managed to dethrone the present-day government, this time the numbers don't look good. And remember, there is a saying, especially in politics, when the opposition is not strong as the present-day government, the only options are, none of the above doesn't click with the people. And I think that's where this particular election looks very much different from what happened in 2009, when there was a change in government. But this time around, the race could be much closer. But I think the present-day government has its options of, seeking more partners there and looking to run, in a post-poll scenario where you will have many more parties come and join the government.
All right, Anil, last question before we leave you about the voters. What do you think are the biggest challenges Japan's economy is facing? You spoke about inflation, rising cost of living. Tell us what's at stake and what are the top issues of the voters?
Well, when there was a change in government and the new Prime Minister was brought in, much was expected of him, especially when it comes to, a cleanup of the house on a large scale that the people were expecting. And the people actually were not ready for the snap elections that's been announced. You're trying to go against the mood of the particular nation, trying to, rather look at political gains over, what the country needs. When the country is facing inflation or chronic inflation that's affected Japan for long, the Bank of Japan's measures time and again being taken, they have been effective, but, not in that scale where the cost of living has been able to come down. I think, this double whammy that the present-day government has tried of having snap elections with inflation, the chronic inflation troubling the people, is actually a too difficult situation that people, generally don't like to get into. So, there could be a feeling, as I said, none of the above options here don't look good. And I think that's where somewhere, even though there is a sharp fall in ratings for the Prime Minister, things could not be as similar to 2009. They could sail home, but the road ahead is bumpy and surely filled with speed breakers.
All right, Anil, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your inputs. Now, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense reported Chinese military activity near the island on Sunday and said that 8 Chinese aircraft and 7 naval vessels were detected in the region. The Defense Ministry further reported that 6 of these aircraft crossed the median line, entering Taiwan's northern and southwestern air defense identification zone. In response, Taiwan is monitoring the situation and has responded accordingly. Meanwhile, China has strongly condemned a $2 billion arms sale package by the United States to Taiwan, promising countermeasures to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. On Friday, the Pentagon said the United States had approved a potential $2 billion arms sale package to Taiwan, including the delivery for the first time to the island of an advanced air defense missile system battle-tested in Ukraine. At least 8 people, including 4 police officers, were killed in a suicide attack in Pakistan's North Waziristan. The attackers targeted a police post. This is the second major attack in the restive region in a month. On 5th October, 6 soldiers were killed during a firefight with militants. Now in central London, thousands of people have joined 3 different marches focusing on the UK's summer riots and the deaths of people in police custody. An annual event by United Families and Friends campaign took place in Trafalgar Square, remembering those who have died in police custody, and was attended by hundreds, including the family members of those killed. During the Trafalgar Square, even family members of those killed took a handwritten note addressed to the Prime Minister to Downing Street. The protests were closely watched by a beefed-up police operation aimed at heading off any clashes between the rival gatherings. And thousands in Lisbon took part in a demonstration against police violence on Saturday after several nights of riots triggered by the death of a man shot and killed by police earlier this week. The right-wing Portuguese party, Chega, called the protest in defense of the police that brought together around 300 people who set fire to 13 cars and trash bins. The demonstrators demanded justice for Odair Moniz, the Cape Verdean man shot by Portugal's police force. Police have been out in force in the suburbs since unrest broke out over Monday's shooting. Last year, the UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination said it was concerned about information pointing to excessive use of force by police in Portugal, particularly against people of African descent. Now, in the Haitian capital, a gang attack has forced residents to flee their homes as the gangs operating in and around Port-au-Prince ramp up attacks on areas they do not yet control. Gangs have been escalating their attacks on a number of towns where much of the city and its suburbs are under the control of various armed groups united under a common alliance known as Viv Ansan. Violence is intensifying, which saw a United Nations helicopter hit by gunfire and 2 gangs apparently target US embassy vehicles. The attacks have prompted embassy officials to begin the process of evacuating up to 20 diplomatic staff from the capital, with 1 US airline temporarily cancelling flights to the capital. The total number of displaced people in Haiti has doubled in the past 3 months to almost 700,000. More than half of those left homeless crowded into 14 makeshift shelters, including schools. The remainder are temporarily staying with relatives. Now in Mexico, 19 people lost their lives and 6 others were injured in a tragic accident when a bus crashed on a highway. The accident took place near the central state of Zacatecas on Saturday morning. The bus carrying the victims collided with the back of a tractor trailer carrying corn, which had come loose. Well, that's still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to share his thoughts in his monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat today at 11 a.m. local time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauds indomitable spirit and courage of all ranks and veterans on occasion of Infantry Day. And Trump and Kamala Harris campaign in Michigan searching for holdout votes.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back to watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Recap of what we've done so far. Tensions remain high in West Asia. Iran downplays Israel's retaliatory attacks. West calls for restraint. Spanish President Pedro Sanchez arrives in India today to hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Japan votes in a tight election. New Prime Minister Ishiba's majority at stake. Ruling Dream Party claims victory in Georgia general elections. Opposition alleges voter manipulation. Updates now on the US presidential elections. With less than 2 weeks until polls, Trump and Kamala Harris campaigned in Michigan, searching for holdout votes, with Harris focused on abortion rights and Trump returning to his anti-immigrant campaign theme. Ahead of the rally, Harris met with women medical providers in Michigan, where she said the country was in a healthcare crisis following the 2022 ruling by the US Supreme Court that ended women's right to abortion nationwide.
Since the Dobbs decision came down 2 years ago, I do believe that we as a country have faced a healthcare crisis. And yes, it includes the concern that we have about people's access to abortion care and then the punishing of women, the criminalization of healthcare providers. But also we've seen clinics close around the country that provide all types of care, from PAPs to breast cancer screenings, HIV testing, and so much else, and just safe places for people to go.
Former US President Donald Trump also campaigned in Michigan, attacking Kamala Harris over her approach to immigration and border security while echoing several false claims. Trump also reiterated his commitment, if re-elected, to launching the largest deportation program in American history immediately upon taking the oath of office.
You're going to say, Kamala, you're no good. You did a lousy job. You destroyed San Francisco. You destroyed California. You destroyed everything you touched. You're not going to destroy our nation. Kamala Harris, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. I always said we're the dumping ground for the world. Yesterday I said we're the garbage can for the world. We're a garbage can. We're like a garbage can, and they dump their criminals. They're people with tremendous mental problems from insane asylums.
And US President Joe Biden encouraged voters to follow their gut when casting their ballots in the upcoming election, which he describes as the most important election of our lifetime. Biden spoke at a Get Out the Vote event in Pittsburgh, where he arrived to support Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Rounding on former US President Donald Trump, Biden described the Republican nominee as a loser.
Do it for your kids. Do it for your family. Do it for your grandkids. Do it for your neighbors. Do it for people you know. People who need a helping hand. Donald Trump is a loser. He's a loser as a candidate. And more importantly, in my view, and I'm just going to say it straight up, he's a loser as a man. He's a loser as a man. We fought too hard for the gains we made, for the people we grew up with, the neighborhoods we come from. And I know who was standing next to me the last 4 years, Kamala Harris.
And US presidential race remains very tight, with Vice President Kamala Harris and presidential candidate of Republican Party Donald Trump wrapping up their efforts to secure votes in the 7 battleground states. DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh reports from Houston in Texas.
Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable.
Kamala Harris once again calling out Donald Trump for becoming increasingly deranged. Donald Trump has called her a threat to democracy.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
The political narrative as sharply divided as the American society polarized.
As far as I'm concerned, there's only one issue, and it's to get rid of Donald Trump. I feel he is the most destructive force on this planet at this time. Giving him the nuclear codes would be the biggest mistake U.S. ever made.
She's not answered a single question. In fact, she runs from every question she's ever asked. So she'd be terrible. How could she stand up against Putin if she can't even stand up against a reporter that's on her side?
The key issue to me is ensuring that Donald Trump not take office. I'm extremely concerned about his fascist tendencies, and I think we have to do everything we can as a nation to uphold democracy and defeat him.
While American society may seem divided right from the middle this time around, most American states have traditionally voted on predicted lines. The terms red state and blue state refer to U.S. states whose voters vote predominantly for one party, the Republican Party in the red states and the Democratic Party in blue states, in presidential and other statewide elections. By contrast, states where the vote fluctuates between Democratic and Republican candidates are known as swing states or purple states. In these elections, there are 7 states that are swing or battleground states, which includes the states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. And understandably, both candidates are focusing their energies campaigning in these states, making a last lap bid to woo the undecided voter. But is it cutting ice with them?
What are they going to do for the people when they get into office? All the claims that they make, I want to make sure that they come through with the claims. You know, Trump says he can do X, Y, Z, and doesn't do nothing.
Well, I'm not too sure about what I'm going to decide, but everything's too expensive.
Then there is the issue that is America ready for a woman president, and a colored one at that.
If there's any time that a woman's going to take over the White House and represent us worldwide, it's now.
While issues like cost of living, economy, jobs, women's rights, abortion, etc. do matter to people, but it's often seen that on the voting day, most Americans cast their vote based on partisan loyalties. And that is why you see the states that have been red or blue continue to remain so. In such a scenario, when the race is so tight, it is really the undecided voter, especially the purple states, which could swing either way, that could decide who will sit in the Oval Office for the next 4 years. With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Amrit Pal Singh for DD India in Houston, Texas.
All right, let's go across to Amrit Pal Singh. He's joining us live from Austin, Texas. Amrit, like you said in the report also, it's very tight. But talking about the campaign, Trump people sound confident. They are confident that they're going to take all 7 battleground states, like you mentioned in the report also. Kamala Harris people sound much more cautious, saying that they've got better ground game. But what do you hear from both campaigns at the ground, especially Donald Trump? Is it based on maybe 2016 or data? What are you hearing?
The first about Donald Trump's camp being very confident about taking all the 7 battle states. That is typically political rhetoric before the election, because they want to enthuse voters. All politicians do that, saying that, oh, we are coming into power. That's not a phenomena just relevant to the United States of America. It's all over the world. So they know the race is tight. Polls suggest the race is tight. Kamala also knows that the race is tight. What goes against Kamala is that Kamala is in office. Kamala is the vice president. She's part of the Biden administration. Biden being a very unpopular president, she carries the baggage of his anti-incumbency. Therefore, she's sounding cautious, but she's trying to tell the voters that I will make a fresh start. I will break away from the policies of Biden. So in a subtle way, she's trying to say, I will set afresh. Therefore, she doesn't want to come across as somebody who's too arrogant, because she wants the sympathy vote to come to her way, saying that it wasn't her fault, it was Biden's fault. Whereas Trump's personality is go-getter, the typical type A personality. He's the kind of man that he is. That is why the difference between the two. If you look at the 2016, yes, they were very close. Look at Arizona. Joe Biden got it, but it flipped only by a 0.3%. Just about 10,000 votes of difference. Not much. Factor in the margin of error, it could reverse. the similar situation, it's a close contest in, say, Michigan. It's close in Wisconsin. So it is a really, really close contest. Therefore, assertion by both sides is just political strategy.
Okay, Amrit, it's going neck and neck according to different polls. It's very close, like you were saying. But everyone wants to know, but why is this race so close? I mean, they are saying it's the closest election since, I was reading it somewhere, since Bush v. Gore, that was in 2024 years ago. Why has this become so close? Maybe America politically divided, one of the many reasons?
That's one reason. You are right to draw in comparison between the 2000 election, Al Gore and George Bush, which the Supreme Court of the United States had to settle in favor of George Bush. They stopped the recount. Therefore, essentially sending a message that the system is what it is. Now, why do you ask me why is it so close? Because of the issues at stake. He's raised up the rhetoric so much. I was covering the 2016 elections here in the US. It was then also pretty vitriolic between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. But this time around, the kind of language that is being used by Donald Trump, and actually by both sides. Donald Trump calling Joe Biden, saying that he became a retard, Kamala was born one, Kamala saying he's unhinged, mentally unstable, he's saying she's a threat to democracy, Elon Musk saying that if you call him a threat to democracy, you're a threat to civilization, etc. The society is divided right from the middle. It is a very, very polarized society this time around, and therefore you see such tough competition. And by the end of the day, trust you me, my sense of the number of days that I've spent in the United States traversing various states, I just came back from a place called Labrador. I was on the Mexico-US border where the illegal immigration takes place. People are highly, highly divided, and that's why that's so close.
What do people say on the ground, Amritpal? You spoke about the Mexico border. I mean, what are the issues that matter the most to the people?
Jobs, economy, rising cost of living, affordable housing, taxes, for women abortion, the right to choose or the right of women's rights. This is what matters to them. Some do care about, say the Arab American community cares about what's happening in Palestine, Israel. But broadly, to the average Joe or the average Jill, these are the issues which matter.
All right, Amritpal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you for your insights and puts. Spanish President Pedro Sanchez arrives in India today for an official visit until 29th of October. During the visit, President Sanchez will hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two leaders will inaugurate the final assembly line plant of C-295 aircraft at Vadodara, a flagship Make in India initiative in the aviation sector, which is being set up by Tata Advanced Systems in collaboration with Airbus Spain. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi and President Sanchez met several times on the sidelines of multilateral meetings. The visit of the President of Spain is taking place after 18 years, and this is the first visit of President Sanchez to India. President Sanchez will also visit Mumbai, where he will interact with trade and industry leaders, think tanks and the film industry. A number of MOUs and agreements are expected to be signed during the visit, which will boost bilateral cooperation between the two countries. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the nation in the 115th episode of his monthly radio program Mann Ki Baat today at 11 AM local time. The program will be broadcast on the entire network of Akashvani and Doordarshan. It will also be live streamed on the YouTube channels of AIR News, DD News, PMO and Information and Broadcasting Ministry. And on the occasion of Infantry Day, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed the indomitable spirit and courage of all ranks and veterans of the infantry. In a post on X, the Prime Minister said that infantry personnel always stand resolute in the face of any adversity, ensuring the safety and security of the nation, adding that the infantry embodies the sense of strength, valor and duty, inspiring every Indian. Extending his wishes to the infantry personnel, the Defence Minister said that the infantry plays a pivotal role in protecting the country. He noted that their courage, valor and sacrifice continue to inspire everyone.
Safeguarding our frontiers. Stoic, rugged and highly adaptable, infantry is queen of the battle, physically capturing and holding the ground.
And the Indian Army is commemorating its 78th Infantry Day today. On the occasion, Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan and Chief of Army Staff General Upendra Dwivedi laid wreath at the National War Memorial. Still to come on this edition of DD India News Hour. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman urges G7 and G20 nations to boost support for Africa. Barcelona thrashes Real Madrid 4-0 in a stunning victory in La Liga match held by Lewandowski double.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. India's Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister Nirmala Sitharaman participated in the G7 African Ministerial Roundtable to discuss country-specific solutions to development finance challenges and G7 initiatives for development in Africa on Saturday. The meetings were held on the sidelines of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund annual meetings in Washington, D.C., noting the deep-rooted partnership between India and Africa. India's Finance Minister said that PM Narendra Modi has redefined this partnership with 10 guiding principles aimed at supporting Africa's growth through capacity building, enhanced public services and addressing climate change, among others. Sitharaman urged G7 and G20 to intensify support for Africa. The Finance Minister underlined India's support to Africa in areas like infrastructure development and health sector, offering technical expertise and technology transfers. And India's Finance Minister earlier met with the first Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Geeta Gopinath. Sitharaman congratulated Gopinath on the successful conduct of the annual meetings 2024 and expressed her optimism for continued collaboration. She also highlighted recent union budget announcements focused on jobs and skilling. The FDMD requested India's support for the 16th General Review of Quotas. Gopinath also took to social media platform X and said that it was wonderful to reconnect with the Finance Minister. She stated that with a projected growth of 7% in the financial year 2024-25, India is set to remain the largest growing major economy in the world. And Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das has been ranked the top central banker by the US-based Global Finance magazine. Governor Das received the award for A+ grade in Central Bank Report Cards 2024 for the second consecutive year. The award was presented to him at an event held in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. Sports updates now. We'll start with chess. Indian Grandmaster Arjun Erugesi made history by becoming the youngest Indian to surpass the coveted 2800 ELO rating mark recently. Erugesi is also only the second from the country after Vishwanathan Anand to surpass the mark. Erugesi became the 16th player to cross the 2800 rating mark. The 21-year-old also showed a strong performance in the French team chess championship, which propelled him into the top 5 of the FIDE standings, making him the highest ranked Indian player. Now, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Arjun Erugesi for surpassing the coveted 2800 ELO rating mark. PM Modi wrote on social media platform X, and I quote him, "Congratulations to Arjun Erugesi for crossing the 2800 mark in live chess ratings. This is a phenomenal feat. His exceptional talent and perseverance make our entire nation proud. In addition to being a great personal milestone, it will also inspire many more youngsters to play chess and shine on the global stage. Wishing him the very best for his future endeavours." Unquote. Cricket now. India women are all set to face New Zealand women in the second ODI of a 3-match series on Sunday at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. The Indian team is gearing up for a stronger showing from its batters as they seek to clinch the series against New Zealand in the second women's ODI. India secured a comfortable victory in the first match by 59 runs on Thursday and will be looking for a different narrative in this upcoming match. The White Ferns experienced a reality check with a loss after winning their women's T20 world title in UAE. They will be eager to bounce back and level the series in the second ODI. In football, Barcelona's Robert Lewandowski scored a quick-fire second-half double to set the leaders on course for a 4-0 thrashing of Real Madrid in a stunning Clásico victory in La Liga on Saturday. Real were in control of the game from early on but became frustrated as they wasted several chances before Polish striker silenced the burnt-bar crowd with 2 successive goals in the 54th and 56th minutes. Real tried to get back into the game, but Barca killed them off with 2 more goals. 17-year-old Lamine Yamal became the youngest Clásico scorer in the 77th minute, and captain Rafinha scored final goal in the 84th. With this victory, Barcelona extended their lead at the top of the points table. And before we close, we take you to Netherlands, where about 1,500 people participated in the historical reenactment of Battle of Groll, held in the small town of Groenlo. The event is one of the most important battles in the 80 Years' War, which the Spanish crown fought against the Dutch provinces in the 17th century. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.